Hello and welcome. My name's Ryan Johnson, and this is the Saltcast. Today, I welcome Paul Johnson and a special guest, Valerie Heckman with LumaTax. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Ryan.
Valerie, thanks for joining us on this special day.
Thank you for
I
having me,
am
Paul.
so excited.
Absolutely.
Today, we've got a special episode because LumaTax is actually a software we use here at Peisner Johnson, and we'll get into that. But Valerie, I really wanted you to kind of introduce yourself and introduce LumaTax and kind of what your role is there and what LumaTax does.
Absolutely. And first, thank you for having me on, and more importantly, thank you for being such great partners to us here at LumaTax. It's a real pleasure working with you both and the rest of your firm. A little bit about me. I'm the Director of Business Development here at LumaTax, and I've been working with accountants for the last 10 years of my career. My primary role is to connect with accountants and advisors to discuss sales tax advisory services and how our tools can really fit into their firm, whether it's to add to what they're already doing in their practice or to really transform their workflows around sales tax services.
That's awesome. So what does LumaTax do specifically?
Sure. LumaTax is an intelligent app with a suite of tools for accounting and tax professionals to really identify and advise clients on sales tax nexus issues post-Wayfair. As, of course, you all talk about, many laws have changed in the sales tax world over the past 4 years, and navigating all of the nuances of that can be really challenging. And so we have collaborative tools that capture taxpayers' profile information and consolidate and validate and standardize their data for analysis, and then actually perform a nexus analysis to figure out where they have a footprint across all the states. And we generate a really great tool, or a really great report, that basically breaks down what their sales tax responsibilities and obligations are across all the states. And then we also help with registration and compliance pieces as well.
The software is
awesome.
really, really cool. I mean, we've been using it. Peisner Johnson's been using it for a couple of years now. And what I really like about the software is that, it's easy to use, but also the reports that it generates really detailed and accurate. And so one of the complicated things before LumaTax, one of the complicated things that we dealt with was doing a risk analysis or a nexus study to help businesses understand where they have a requirement, a responsibility to collect and remit sales tax across the U.S. and Canada. And LumaTax has really helped streamline that, helped in a more efficient way, if you will, be able to properly identify where nexus has been established and when it was established, at what specific date. But also the technology behind it and the legislation that supports it to know when you have to register. So you establish Nexus today in September, and you don't have a responsibility to register until January 1 or October 1 or December 1, whatever the legislation says. So it's really, really cool what you guys have done.
Thank you. Yeah, we really are trying to make it very easy for users like yourselves to get all the information that you need from the client, work with that data, not spend a ton of time doing manual data prep and manual cleanup and manual address verification and tax research and all of that, and really just have the software do the heavy lifting of that so you can get back to advising your clients on what to do next.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Valerie, what is like LumaTax's ideal client then?
Sure. So we work with accounting firms of all sizes and specialty shops like Peisner Johnson. So we have a kind of a span of very large national firms that have SALT practices or client accounting services teams that are using us. But we also work with some more boutique type firms that are maybe serving e-commerce clients specifically, or software as a service clients. And then, of course, the specialty firms as well that are focused on salt services. So really our ideal fit are accounting professionals that are looking to help their clients navigate sales tax nexus issues and sales tax issues in general, really the advisory side of it.
Yeah, I mean, just, I think our most recent podcast, we talked about doing a risk analysis and how important that is. And so I know LumaTax can make it so much more simpler for accounting firms to be able to do it themselves. Because every accountant, that has business clients, everybody should have a risk analysis done, a nexus analysis done, because you never know. Because we say a lot in our podcast that, every business probably has at least one more state where they should get registered in. And Paul can speak to that too.
For sure.
So what's on LumaTax's horizon? Like what are you guys planning for the future and different offerings?
Well, and before I get into that, I love what you said. I think part of my responsibility here too is to help spread the word on why accounting professionals in the broader accounting community should be proactive in helping identify clients with those challenges, right? To uncover where they have problems before they compound. And our tools, I hope, make it really easy for people to do that, because you can, instead of sending a client a spreadsheet with a billion questions about their business and their operations, we try and consolidate, hey, what are the bare minimum things that we can ask to figure out if a client even has risk? And then if they do have medium to high risk, maybe that's where we talk about getting more information and doing an in-depth nexus study.
Right.
So we're trying to sniff out those issues with as few questions as possible, which I think is a really powerful piece of our tool.
For sure. I noticed in a number of other software solutions or even service providers, the risk analysis that they perform, or these nexus reviews, if you will, they, whether they're automated or manually done, they are oftentimes just too complex and too robust that the clients themselves or the taxpayers themselves are lost, and they're like, I don't even know where to go from here. They're all oftentimes overwhelmed. And so the fact that you can put together a report with the details in there, and then you can dive into it, right? I mean, LumaTax's report has all of the details, the granular data behind it that supports it, which is super, super great. But you could also just look at a high overview. So depending on your level of interest and your level of involvement with a given client or taxpayer, if you're that you're working with, you can really customize that specifically to your needs, right, Valerie?
That is exactly right. Everybody knows which clients want to dive into the nitty gritty details and which are okay with just, tell me the bare minimum, of what I need to know and what's important. And so, that's really important to us to give you as the professionals the ability to really, hone in on the individual transactions even and see what's going on. But also just give your clients that high level overview. Here's the map of the United States. The red ones are bad. The yellow ones we got to watch. The green ones are in good shape, right? Like some clients
it's
to what they need, right? But others, of course, want to get more granular. So that's great. So you asked what we're up to next, and we're a startup, but we've got a lot of interesting firms that we're working with, and kind of continuing to grow that out. Spread the word about our product, of course, and really to build out new tools that help with even more of what happens next. So, we do a quick assessment, sniff out if a client has issues. We complete their profile to get more information, so that we've got their economic stuff figured out and their physical. Then we bring in all the data and try and consolidate that up, and then one of the things we've been working on recently in the background is how can we validate all of the address data to make sure that everything is as accurate as possible so that we can assign the taxing jurisdiction accurately and the rate that's associated with that jurisdiction so so that when we give an exposure amount, it's a lot more precise than just estimated at the highest level for the state.
Right. Right.
And then on top of that, we've started to build out some tools for voluntary disclosure agreements. The first being a cost-benefit analysis to figure out very easily where it makes sense to pursue a VDA versus a registration, or perhaps inaction, kind of depending on what we see and what the client's needs are. So giving you tools to handle that more easily as professionals. And then also ASC 45020 contingent tax liability reporting for firms that have the need to address Wayfair issues on the financial statements. Continuing to build out our jurisdictional summaries to give more information for doing like backdated filing of returns and being able to export the data out for any sort of compliance platform that a firm might be using for the tax returns themselves. So got a lot going on.
Wow. Yeah.
It's so awesome.
No, that's
Take
impressive.
a breath
Yeah.
and let you guys respond to that.
One of the things that I noticed just recently, that an update that came out, was, as you were talking about, the address verification and validation process to provide a little bit more accurate reporting, because before we would just have like a range, an estimate. Okay, on the low end, lowest rate is going to be around here. On the high end, you're going to be about here. If we look at the average tax rate in that state, here's what the estimate could be. But now with this address validation process that goes through on the back end, it gets pretty detailed. And so we you no longer have those big ranges of estimates. You are pretty dialed in when it comes to the tax liability once that nexus event has been triggered.
It's been super exciting for us to build that out and be able to provide that, because I think what ends up happening a lot of the times is because it's such a large amount of data, like the volume of data that firms are having to manually deal with and consolidate and address, that, if you're doing this in Excel, you're probably just going to use the state rate, highest combined rate, whatever, to figure it out. But we can go through, thousands of rows of transaction data, verify those addresses. If, maybe the client doesn't have the best bookkeeping and they haven't been entering the full address, they're only entering the state, or they're, maybe they have the city state. If we have that, if we only have the state level, of course, we don't know what specific jurisdiction it is, so we just put the state rate. But if they do have that bird's eye view, the street level address with the, building number and the street name, city, state, zip, we can get really fine tuned. And, as you guys know, there can be multiple rates on the same city block. So we can get really fine tuned with that to give the most accurate snapshot for the client of what their, true exposure is.
Super great.
That is super cool.
So do you work with any particular size accounting firms or boutique? I mean, are you with the top four? Are you with, the big four and everywhere in between? Yeah.
We've got a big four accounting firms involved with us. We have a number of top 100 firms, but then also, and we've really tried to build out our solution to serve what we call like a growth firm, right? That maybe has a need to figure out, okay, we've got a lot of clients that we think there's issues. We just want, like, I just started working with a firm that's their goal. They just want to do good by their clients, figure out who has problems. But they would probably end up passing things on to a salt practice or to a firm like yourselves if the client needs voluntary disclosures, needs a bunch of registrations, needs ongoing compliance help. So we try and really serve people on all sides of the needs. But then we've got, some of these big firms, they have a lot going on. So, and that's where some of like contingent tax liability tools and that comes into play.
Yeah. We've partnered with a couple of firms that currently use or previously have used your software, who, want to dip their toe in sales tax and provide some guidance. And so using the LumaTax software provides that expertise and ability. You can do it yourself. And then once you get in, you quickly realize, oh boy, we really opened up a can of worms. And oftentimes that's where a partnership like with Pizer Johnson really comes into play, because we can assist and help take it to the next level or help answer all of the questions. So, for the accounting firms out there that are looking for a solution, I mean, this is a really great solution to be able to just address the sales tax needs and issues in all of the states, the surrounding states, and not just your home state that you're used to or that you're aware of. And then as you start digging in and uncovering all of these issues in the surrounding states, if it's too much to handle, then that's a great way for Pizer Johnson to come in and be able to assist and help that firm or that client or whatever the case may be, which I think it's great. It's great all around. Great for you guys. It's great for us to be able to help and support. It's great to be able to educate the marketplace and businesses as a whole. So the more information we can get out, the better off everybody's going to be, I believe. So.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
what I love
I had the same sentiment.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I had the... We do this all the time to each other.
So true.
But I just wanted to say I had the same sentiment as well. And, every once in a while we do have a CPA firm that says, hey, I want to add sales tax to my line of services. And I was going to say LumaTax is like the perfect way to start with that, because you could help your current clients that you already have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we really try and help people, help meet people where they are in that, right? If you're just wanting to sniff out that a client has some challenges, if you want to provide that full nexus analysis deliverable, if you need help with getting clients registered, and then if you're going to go beyond that as well. So we try and fit firm needs of all sizes. And then what I was going to say is that we love being able to connect people who really don't have an in-house expert with firms like yourselves. I would say that's another thing that we're probably going to be focusing on a lot in this next year, is how do we make sure that the taxpayer who might come upon LumaTax on their own gets connected with an expert that can help them. What else can we do to help educate the broader community around these challenges and really help everyone be proactive, so that hopefully fewer clients have these issues bubbling beneath the surface or lurking in the shadows that they don't realize that they have.
Yeah, for sure.
Nobody likes those surprises that come out of the middle of nowhere and are like, oh, what? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, we see it a lot. We see it a lot, unfortunately. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Valerie, before we wrap up, where can our listeners find LumaTax?
Sure. You can find us at LumaTax.com. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or shoot me a message. It's Valerie Heckman. Happy to chat with folks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Valerie and Paul. And we hope to see you on another one.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Ryan.